So this is the setup for your editor. If you will click on the Winner Editor icon, and what you would like to do at this point is to double click on the file that you would like to go into. You will notice on my screen I have the last file that I was in yesterday. And this is a handy feature because whatever file you were in last, you can just click on the open button. Otherwise, you will find the file that you want and double click on it, and it will take you right into that file. The next thing we want to do is I would like you to go up all the way at the top of your toolbar and click on Tools, and then click on Preferences. And we are now going to set up your editor. This is the way that you want your editor to function as you are editing. Everyone should have a check mark at non-breaking dash. What this will do for you is when you have a dash at the end of the sentence, because the system word wraps, it will not put the dash on the next line by itself. It will keep it on the end of the line. You need to decide whether you want your cursor to move character by character or word by word. I would suggest to each of you that you put it on word by word. If you ever need to go character by character, you will use the Control and your left or right arrow keys. And then when you are finished, the cursor will go back to moving word by word automatically. You should have insert mode on. When you depress the insert key on your computer keyboard, it will change to overwrite mode. If you look down here on the taskbar, you will see WRD. I am in word by word mode. INS means I'm in insert mode. But if I depress my insert key on my keyboard, you will then see OVR for overwrite. To me, that's a little dangerous. I would rather be in insert mode. Please put a check mark for Auto Advanced Cursor during Global. What this will do is our F7 key is your scan key. F7 will move you from untranslate to untranslate each time you define, do a global define. It will also stop on conflicts. Make sure you have a check mark where it says Auto Audio Playback during Global. If you have an audio file, when you do your F7 key, it stops on an untranslate, it will automatically play back the audio file. It will back up about 3 words, and it will play for about 5 words after the global without you having to do anything. Make sure you have your auto punctuation on. Again, if you look at the bottom of my taskbar, you see PNC down here. That means my automatic punctuation is on. If you ever need to turn it off, the command is Control P, P for punctuation. Please put a check mark for auto pagination. Now, using the Escape key to exit and close the editor. I personally do not use this. I like to use my Escape key to back me out of anything that I get myself into, but some people like to use the Escape key to leave the editor. If you set this, when you hit Escape, you will get a message that says, do you want to save your changes before exiting? So if you think you want to use the Escape key to close your editor, put a check mark here. Typing replaces selection. This is one of my favorites. What that means is if you click and drag to highlight material in the editor, and then you immediately start typing, what you are typing will immediately replace what you have highlighted. Similar to what happens in WordPerfect or Microsoft Word if you are familiar with those programs. If you like that function, put a check mark here. For those of you that have a Scopist, this is very nice. You can enable tracking using whatever color that you wish on this list. You will set the color. You will also set your scopist up to do the same. And whatever work your scopist does, whatever changes they make, it will be in the color that you select. This makes your job of proofreading a lot easier. You can just go to that particular color on the screen and you will know what changes your scopist has made. If you wish to use a foot pedal to rewind and play back audio, put a check mark here, otherwise leave it blank. Scan to color of untranslates. This is basically for captioners. And merge to first paragraph style. This also leave blank. Now, let's go up and click on the View tab at the top of the Preferences window. You have the choice of viewing your page layout. What that means is you will notice on mine I do not see my line numbers. I like to have my line numbers off when I'm editing because it gives me more room on the right of my screen when I bring my steno notes up. However, if you would like to see your line numbers, put a check mark on View Page Layout. I have sort of gotten into the mindset that I really don't care what line I'm editing on, and if I need to know, I can always look down here again on my taskbar and I know what line my cursor's on and even the column position of it. If you would like to see your paragraph marks, put a check mark here. This will give you all your tabs and your paragraphing. I would not have show headers and footers on. In other words, it's not a seamless movement of your cursor from page to page. It kind of jumps because you have that footer area or header area. So I usually do not have this on. Show ruler line, I would put this on also. This is my ruler line here, and this again is showing my tabs and the length of my page, which I really like. I must make a correction. Showing paragraph marks, I would not put this on. So if you can go back there and take that off. If you do that, you're going to see every place you have a paragraph, you're going to see a little symbol. And I don't know about you, but I've got enough going on my page without seeing extra things. If you would like to see your steno at startup, put a check mark here. This means every time you come into a file, your steno notes will be there. If you like to just bring your steno notes up when you feel like it, that command is F9. The width of your cursor, you can, your working cursor, change the width of it. Be careful here. If you make it too wide, it's possible to cover up the first letter or so of any word. You will notice mine, I have it set to about the second or third tick mark on this bar. Alright, let's move to the Save tab. Please make sure you have a check mark where it says Make Backup Copy and also Autosave, and I would make it every 3 minutes. You will not know that the program is autosaving. It will just happen, but it will save every 3 minutes. Please click on your keyboard macro area. Now, this is a wonderful thing. I call this my macro formatting area. Alt 1 through Alt 0 can be assigned to anything. Make sure that your question and your answer is defined according to your page layout. What I'm looking at here is I'm starting my question with a period. The lesser than sign means come down onto a new line. The greater than sign means give me one tab. our Q is in brackets. So I have bracket Q period, close the bracket. I have a greater than sign for a tab and an up cap. Our answer bank needs to also be in brackets, but we use an R for answer. That R will control the option for different colors for your Q&A. So anytime you are defining a question or an answer, please make sure that you're defining your answer bank with a bracket R bracket. What I have done on the rest of my lines is I have set up some colloquy. For instance, the witness or the court. Now you will notice here where I'm using a bracket P colon colloquy, those of you that have an alternate paragraph style for colloquy, you will need to use this define at the beginning of every colloquy entry. So when you are defining something for your dictionary, make sure that you use this command. What this means is, a lot of folks, myself included, start their colloquy right underneath the text of the Q&A. And when it wraps to the second line, it wraps to the left margin. However, there are some people that have what we call an alternate paragraph style, where the beginning of your colloquy may come in even farther, like let's say about in this position. And when it wraps, it may not wrap to the left margin. It may wrap under your Q or come back around to the beginning of your text for your Q&A. If your colloquy is different like that, that's when you need the alternate paragraph command. What I would suggest to you here is that on one of these other lines, you set up the court, the plaintiff, or the defendant, and the witness as a few other commands. And I'm going to show you how you can use these in just a moment. If you do this, and what I'm showing you here for the court, I'm starting out with a period so that it puts a period on the previous line. I'm coming down with a lesser than sign for a new line. My colloquy goes into the second tab. I'm typing the court, colon, and an up cap. Now let me show you how you can use these items. Remember, Alt 1 is your question bank, Alt 2 is your answer bank, and my Alt 5 is the court. Let's assume for a minute that right here I have dropped out my question bank. The nice thing about this is I can depress Alt 1 and watch what happens. This is being done based on what I have defined in my keyboard macro area. It will arbitrarily put a period on the previous line. It will come down, put my Q period, and capitalize the next word. Same thing with the court. Let's say I dropped out the court. That's my Alt 5. So when I depress Alt 5, this is what it does for me. This will make your editing very quick. You can use that particular keyboard macro area for. This is very, very handy when editing. Let's click on the spelling tab now. Make sure you have Use New Spell Checker and Expanded Dictionary selected. Now, auto spell. I do not use this. However, if you're familiar with Microsoft Word or WordPerfect, as you are typing, if it does not recognize a word that you are typing, you will notice it places a red squiggly underline under the word. If you like that feature, our software can do that for you also by placing a check mark on auto spell. All right, now if you will go down now and click the OK button, that will save all of our setup changes.